from Daily Thunder, Royce Young, and from the Mavericks broadcast, Jeff Skin Wade. Dudes, how are we doing?
Doing good. What's going on, gentlemen?
Very good.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a fantastic series. Chippy, tight. These teams really know each other. Let's start with Royce and just set the mood in Oklahoma City with that team. You've been checking out the practices. How does the team feel, and how has the team responded to the environment of the series so far?
I think the Thunder have kind of gotten what they expected. I mean, I think if they were in their heart of hearts, if they were being completely honest, they would say that they feel really lucky to be up 2-0. I mean, a split or even, I mean, they're very close to being down 0-2, but I mean, I think that they're taking a lot of pride in the fact that they've closed these two games when a season ago in the Western Conference Finals, it was the Mavericks doing the exact opposite to them. So I think that they see themselves as having grown and matured and evolved, and they're taking steps forward because now they're the team that's coming back and making the late push and kind of ripping the heart out of the Mavs when it was the complete opposite last season.
Yeah, Skin, lots to build on for the Mavs, but how do they feel right now?
You know, I guess I would best describe it as something we were calling on our radio show today, irrational confidence, because the Mavericks now have, according to NBA history, a 6% chance of winning this series. Having said all that, basically what Royce was saying, I mean, at the end of Game 2, Dirk had a wide open three, and it's really funny, I didn't get to see the Dirk shot because where I was sitting, in between me and Dirk, was Serge Ibaka, who was putting his hands over his head in slow motion going, no! I mean, everyone in the building is like, they can't believe that Perkins left Dirk that wide open. And it's so funny, it's the exact reverse, right? Like the Dirk Jet two-man game, what that has always done is given Jet great opportunities, not Dirk, because you watch bigs, they hug Dirk on the pick. So Perkins comes over with Jet, Dirk is wide open and he misses it. And then even the 15-footer on the baseline, as tough a shot as that is, that's something that Dirk made all last year. So these things that were working out perfectly for the Mavericks last year really haven't worked out at all this year. They didn't have the good record in close games. In fact, Oklahoma City, I'm sure Royce is aware of this, the last 4 games in Oklahoma City, 2 regular season and now 2 playoffs, the Mavericks have had the lead in the last minute and lost the game. So that's a complete reversal of last year. Having said all that, you know, I think Maverick fans didn't have confidence in this team, and they thought, well, you don't bring Tyson back, JJ, on and on and on. And I think that the Mavericks team that has shown up in these first 2 games has surprised most people. And so the Mavericks look at it as, even though they're down 0-2, okay, Oklahoma City protected their floor. We're playing pretty well. Now let's see what happens when we go home.
Yeah, that Dirk shot, sort of reminiscent of not 3 in the finals against the Lakers, where the guy who had that great look just couldn't go down. You talked a little bit about the Dirk-Perkins matchup, which is pretty entertaining because they've got this little chippy relationship. Perkins and Dirk had a little dust-up, and then Dirk really gave it to him in a 3-minute stretch in the second quarter. Had like 9-10 points, got an assist. What do you make of the way that Scotty Brooks is using Perkins? We'll start with you, Royce. And should he be on the court in any situation where he has to match up with Dirk?
Well, I think that, you know, anybody guarding Dirk is almost an impossible endeavor. I mean, you're asking one of the most difficult covers in the NBA. So, I mean, Scott Brooks is kind of, his plan has just been throw different looks and different players, try to keep the freshest guy possible on Dirk. And, you know, Perk has played on Dirk a lot in the regular season. He played him really well in that first meeting. I don't know if everybody remembers, but he knocked the ball away from Dirk in the first regular season meeting, and it led to a Russell Westbrook and-1 dunk that was kind of the turning point in that game. And so, you know, Perkins plays Dirk a lot differently than Ibaka or Collison will. Collison's kind of the middle ground. He plays him physical, tries to push him out for jump shots, but he's undersized and he can't really challenge the shot. Ibaka's athletic, can challenge the jumper probably better than anybody else, but he's susceptible in the pick and roll, and Dirk can drive around him. And then Perkins is just kind of the bully. He's just going to try to play him physical and hope he can get away with fouling. And if he does, then he's a good defender for him. And if he's not, then Dirk's going to live at the free throw line. But, you know, I don't know really who the best option is, but I do think that Perkins adds just another look. He's tough. He's big. He's good at getting under people's skin. I realize that that's probably tough to do with Dirk because he's a champion. He's a guy that you're not going to really do that with because he's just going to kill you no matter what. But, you know, of all the guys, I'd say that Perkins may have done the best job on Dirk all season long.
You know, I'd like
Wade,
to
what do you
weigh
think
in on
about?
this.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I thought last year during the playoffs, you know, even though Dirk was ridiculous, I thought Collison did the best job last year during the playoffs. And it's really better for their defense in general to have Ibaka as a shot blocker. So to me, having Ibaka on him makes the least amount of sense. Now, having said that, and this is where you get into this whole thing where the coaches start trying to work the refs via press conferences and whatnot, because let's face it, Kendrick Perkins is a good on-the-ball block defender. He's not a good defender out in space, and the only shot he really has is to foul Dirk before he catches the ball. And so then you get into this whole thing of, all right, you guys are just whining, shut up, you're being crybabies, versus, okay, but, you know, generally when a guy's trying to catch the ball, if he's falling down while he's catching it, it's a good sign someone's pushing him before he gets it. And so that's why the way that the games are to be officiated really do have so much importance. And this isn't whiny fan speaking. I'll never forget this. I know that we all love us some Hubie Brown. Hubie Brown is like a god to all of us, right? And so this is before the Memphis-Dallas series. This is the second time they played before Pau Gasol was traded to the Lakers. Hubie was actually calling that series. And I remember, you know, asking him, you know, oh my God, I'm talking to Hubie Brown. I'm going to ask you a basketball question. So what's the key to the series? And he goes into this tirade about officiating. And he said, look, we spent the last 2 years in Memphis training the officials how to call our games. And I'm sure you guys remember in Memphis where there was 10 dudes beating you up on the perimeter, and you're like, well, wait, what the hell's happening there? Well, that's how they train the officials to call their games. They came to expect that. And what happens with Kendrick Perkins is you come to expect that type of play. Perkins has done a great job of co-opting Kevin Garnett's personality and manifesting it out on the floor, right? So it really does mean a lot how the refs are going to call it. Having said that, if the refs are going to let all that go on, the Mavericks simply have to adapt. And I'll say this, I think that the series has been called very evenly. The stuff that wasn't called on Dirk also wasn't called on Durant. So I'm not complaining that the Mavericks are getting shafted or anything like that. It's just if the series is going to be played that physical off the ball, well, the Mavericks are going to have to figure out a way to overcome that, because, you know, pushing Dirk 20 feet from the basket, that's you know, behind the eight ball stuff. If the refs decide to call it tighter, Dirk is going to absolutely annihilate Kendrick Perkins, and we all know that. So that's why the officiating is so important.
It'll be interesting to see as the series shifts. You know, as much as the refs try not to, studies have shown that they, you know, home teams get better calls on things like travels, block charges. So interesting to see, even though Collison strangely picked up 2 charges in Game 2.